So somebody could be listening and say, man, you're a hard nose, you're just making it so hard for your kids. You need to take it a little bit easier. No, because you're giving them a life lesson that's played out in every aspect of their life, which is going to lead them to success. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis. I'm Steve Alessi, and you're joining us today because family is everybody's business, and it just so happens I am joined in the podcast studio today by, get this, he's a church member, he's a friend, and he's even a business colleague at this season of life, and that is Roger Quesada, who is here. And today we're going to really be talking about the business side of just business in general, not just the family business that Roger, as a entrepreneur and business owner, he has his family working for him, but also how to maybe build a business, start a business, how to take something that is an idea, turn it into an actual business venture, and then how to start, and then how to grow it to a real large business that's going to turn around and really help you. So I want to thank him for being here. Now, listen, if you think there's somebody that could benefit from this particular podcast right now, go ahead and send it to them before you get into the nuts and bolts, because if it's about business, you're going to find some great things that are going to be beneficial. So, Roger, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Pastor. Thank you for having me.
All right. Sound a little bit more excited.
I am. I'm very excited to be here.
All right. I just want everybody to know, if you're watching, I'm wearing a outfit that Roger actually bought for me over in Colombia.
That's the right place to buy great clothes, and you look good in it.
Thank you very much. You did good. Appreciate you picking it up. You're a good man. How you doing?
Doing great.
All right.
I had some doctor's visits today, and those are never fun, but good report so far.
Well, it goes along with the gray in your beard. That's what
That's
happens as we get older.
But the team there said they would edit some of that out.
They're going to take care of that.
I'll be about 20 years younger by the time we're done with this.
And about 20 pounds lighter. We're going to look good when they get in there and edit all of this. Well, listen, we're in a wonderful relationship together. It's great. Part of our church. When we started our church way back when, in 1997, you were there on the front end. And it was fun. I'll maybe tell a funny story towards the end to keep it light. But you were there at the beginning. And you and Barbie been a part of it pretty much the whole time. Your business endeavors took you out of town for a few years, but then you came back to South Florida, jumped right back in, and you're right along with us. So it's a good thing.
It's been a great ride.
Yeah, it has. And you and I are part of a group of guys on Monday. We call it our counseling session, and that's where the Roger that everybody thought was antisocial just comes out. It's good.
Well, the social Roger comes out.
There you go. Yeah.
He's only reserved for Mondays.
That's it. That's funny there. All right, Roger. So on the business side of things, I have a business. I work with my family. You have a business, and your family works for you. Tell us a little about that.
Well, my business is... It requires a lot of administrative and recruiting. So Kayla, my middle daughter, she works with me. She's been with me for a couple of years. She started as a recruiter, and now she manages all the recruiting department and all the HR functions. And so it's been great to see her grow in that respect, grow in her position, grow in her responsibility. And Joseph started really to kind of fill in and have a part-time job. He had a job that he didn't like. He came to work for me. I didn't like how he worked, so I sent him back to wherever he came from to work. And then he came back and has done really good since then. He just recently finished his degree, so he's looking to go into that field of gaming design and all that. But in the meantime, he continues to work. So it's been fun to see them grow in this aspect of their life, in working in a career. Working for me probably has been the most challenging for them, and it'll probably be the most challenging job they've ever had.
Yeah.
I'm of the belief that if you work in my company and you happen to have the last name that I carry,
Yep.
you don't have any privileges, but you have the most responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost better for them not to work with me if they want to slack.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I think if whether they continue working with me forever or they go on, they're going to be much better because they've learned that a good work ethic and responsibility is what they need to bring to work every day.
Yeah. Now, what they don't know is what we know, because I know you, is you say there's no privileges, but there are privileges. They just have to earn those privileges that working for their father in his company will give them, which is the biggest privilege, is an opportunity.
Right.
We give them an opportunity to work for us, which they could work for others, but there's the privilege of picking up our DNA, which has produced a certain level of success in our field. So your kids do have a privilege. They're going to just have to earn it to work and receive a paycheck from your company.
Right. In that sense, they do. But in the sense of they're going to get away with what we wouldn't allow others to get away with, that's there is no familial privilege
Yeah.
in that sense.
Nobody else working for you has that privilege.
Nobody does. And quite frankly, they need to set the example.
Yep.
They need to be above the standard that we set for everybody else, because everybody's always going to look at them and say, they're daddy's
Yep.
kids, so that and I don't ever want them to be measured in any way because they're related to me. I want them to be respected in their own
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well, you came more or less. I mean, can we say it in a respectful way to your upbringing and so on? But you really came from nothing in the sense that nobody gave you something that you have today. Every bit of what you have today was something you worked for.
Yeah. I will say that I was given plenty of opportunities, and that is the only thing that I was given. I'm so grateful for it. As a matter of fact, the chief purpose of our company is to provide opportunities for people like me that really didn't have the goods
Mhm.
to make it, and others took a chance on me. They didn't hand me anything. They just allowed me to be the best version of me that I could, and they taught me.
Mhm.
And I took every opportunity that I was given to do that. Other than that, I was never given anything. As a matter of fact, I had to work harder because I was limited in some sense,
Mhm.
educationally, and because of background and upbringing and such.
Mhm. And that's really what gives you that drive today to look at your kids and say, all right, look, I started with more or less nothing. And you did. You didn't have the financial resources
Mhm.
to have what you have today. And by the way, how many employees are on your more or less your payroll?
Right now, we're over 500 employees
All right.
in about 7 states and in 11 locations.
Yeah, so that's a lot of people that
Mhm.
are depending on what you started. So you
Right.
started with nothing. And that's what you want to give your kids is that same opportunity to see that, all right, let's start from nothing. And the name is not something that's going to give you what you do not earn.
Right.
Which is such a great life lesson. So somebody could be listening and say, man, you're a hard nose, you're just making it so hard for your kids. You need to take it a little bit easier. No, because you're giving them a life lesson that's played out in every aspect of their life, which is going to lead them to success. So it's a great thing that you're able to do. Now, does your wife work for you?
I can't conquer all things, Pastor. She has in the past.
Yeah.
She's probably been the employee that's got fired from my company more than anybody else.
Yeah.
She's indomitable
Oh
when it
my
comes to
gosh.
working for me.
Yeah. But that in itself, that's a unique position for her.
Mhm.
I mean, she's not here, so we can't hear from her, but not that you're putting words in her mouth, but how does she manage that with you're running your business and the kids that are your offspring are working in your company? Because that's not easy. They're going to have problems with dad and the boss. How does she navigate through that?
Well, it was. I think it was tough for a minute in the beginning, but we really separated one from the other.
Hmm.
When they're working for the company, they're employees of the company, and the company is really its own entity. I have a responsibility to the company, and so they have a responsibility to the company as well. And so they, my wife doesn't get involved. She doesn't pick sides. She doesn't try to influence me in any way, over whatever decisions I have to make in regard to them. She supports, as a matter of fact, more than anything. So she's in that sense, we're both in the same page, very much aligned.
Yeah.
When it comes to the kids and their work.
Yeah. You and I, as well as a couple other guys, we're feeling inspired to start something that we'll be sharing with our community, and that is MLC Metro Life Church Business Forum. Part of that, it's going to be a one-day seminar that we put on Business Forum together. But part of that is we're fleshing out what we're going to be sharing with those that are entrepreneurs, those that are running small businesses, big businesses, those that want to start a business. One of the things we're going to be talking about is the spouse relationship in running a business. I happen to work with my wife, and every day we're pretty much together 24/7. That's not the case with everybody, because most business owners, they leave their spouse, and then they have to deal with what happens. Because as the business owner, I know you've managed yourself really well at a place where you have certain liberties and freedoms. But there's been times when you were the first one out the door in the morning to be at the office, make sure things are happening. Last one to get home after dark. How did Barbie manage through all those days?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't have done it without her support. And what I mean by support is really not having to deal with everything that I was dealing in the front end with business, and having to worry about my wife is home and she's demanding the time, and she's calling me, and she never did any of that. She never put any pressure on me from the home front, so that I would be split, or I couldn't dedicate my full energy to what I was doing. And when you say leave the office in the morning and come back at night, that wasn't my case. Mine was leave the office Monday morning, come back a week or two later, because I was traveling quite a bit. So it even put a separation in between us. And so navigating through all of that time, and it was a lot of years of that.
Yeah.
And it was tough, but here we are now. I spend all my time at home. As a matter of fact, I wish I could travel a little bit more now, just so that we can have the separation, so we can visit each other a little bit. But we're in this season of life because she did her part.
Yeah.
In supporting me, never questioning what I was doing, never pulling me back, saying, "Don't do it." Why are you doing so much, and all of that. She always just said, "Go do what you have to do," and she took care of the home front.
Yeah. I need your input on something here. We've got some people listening to us that they want to start a business. Got some people that are in a small business and some that are running pretty major corporations. So let's just kind of tackle something on all three of those levels. First off, what should a person be thinking and doing if they want to start a business? They're good at something. They have an idea. They have a concept. How do they then start?
I think the best way to start is not to allow the excitement of the idea or the skill or any of those things cloud the judgment of what running a business is. A great idea is not a business. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
A great product is not a business. It's a great product. A great skill set is not a business. It's a great skill set. A business is a total different animal, if you will.
Yeah.
So if you have any of these things, but you've never ran a business, the best thing to do is get together with people that run businesses, are successful, or have at least a track record, and ask a lot of questions. Because it might take you a year to get to that start of the business, but you're going to have a heck of a lot better chance to be successful and not fail than if you start because of the excitement of the idea, and 3 months into it, you're feeling miserable because now you think your idea is bad. You're running out of money. Now you got no job, and you're feeling like you are a failure. And so invest in the time to learn. Okay, I've got this great idea. Can this be a great business, and how do I get there?
Mm-hmm. Tell me your concept of a business plan. If I want to start a business, should I build a business plan?
I think without a business plan, it's the same thing. You're going into it with just the excitement. A business plan is just really putting down on paper everything that's going to take to turn that idea or product or skill into something that is viable, something that can make a profit. Ultimately, that's what a business is for, is to turn a profit so that you can either reinvest in business or have a better life. So a business plan, it can be as complex as you want it to be, and usually those don't work very well because they're too difficult to implement.
Yeah.
Or it can be simple but clear. But it'll give you a good roadmap as to, okay, I'm here, I want to get over there. Here are the things that I need to do. And then you start adding or adapting or changing as you go by. But at least you have some clear markers of where you want to go.
Well, as cool as Chat IPT is, right? Is it Chat IPT? Help me out.
Chat GPT.
GPT. Thank you very much. I guess that Chat GPT can't write you a business plan. You're going to need to find somebody that could also help you. And that's where a coach, or even what we're trying to do with our MLC Business Forum, that's what's going to prove helpful. You got to connect with people that are doing this, correct?
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. My first business was a lesson in what not to do in anything when it comes to business. And my business plan was written in the back of a napkin, sitting in the patio of my house with my then partner. And we just wrote, here's what we are going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how much money it's going to take. And here's what we want to accomplish. And you would think, well, that's not a business plan. If I hadn't had that business plan in a napkin, I wouldn't look at it every now and again and say, hey, am I on the right track or am I not? And I added to it as I learned some things. Obviously, if I did it again, I did it again, I wouldn't have done it that way. But even something as simple as write it down and have somebody else look at it and give you some good input.
Yeah.
Because it helps in the end.
Does.
And that business lasted 9 years, and recession and other things, me included, made it stop.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have lasted a day if I hadn't had at least a napkin business plan.
Well, if you're going to be a business owner, you got to get used to the word no. I have found when I started our church, and it was, as much as my wife and I started this together, it was a decision I made to leave where I was and then come over and start our church. At the time I shared it with Mary. She's like, are you kidding me? We're finally happy here at this other place. What are you doing? I said, Mary, it's just time for us to go. I had a little garage back at my house, and I took a corner of that garage and built it out for my office, because I was always an office guy. I love going to the office. So I'd go out into the garage. Roger, I had building concepts that I diagrammed. I knew exactly how many ushers I wanted, how many greeters I wanted. I knew what kind of advertising I was going to do. I knew from the music standpoint, because Mary was the musician, the worship leader at the time. I knew on paper, it was written up how many instruments we needed, who would play those instruments, how many mics were needed, what kind of sound system was needed. I more or less knew that there was a budget that was going to be required. In my line of work of starting a church, I just knew on the front end, things had to be written down. You got to take it from just an idea. And people have good ideas. But as we said recently, there's a difference between a good idea and a God idea. And if it's a God idea for you, then you're going to go that extra step to making sure you write it down. Even Habakkuk talks about the vision, the plan. Write it down, because you're going to have to run with it, and one day it'll come to pass. You're going to have to wait, it'll come to pass, but you got to write it down. So for somebody that has an idea, an inclination, I want to start a business, you better write it down and see if it will pass the business plan test. If it doesn't, and there's a no, then thank that person that is honest with you, because you don't want to be surrounded by people that just pat you on the back because they have a good idea and say, go for it and have faith for it, because that can cost you a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Which then leads me to this. A lot going on politics right now is talking about the small business. The success of our economy lies in the lap of small businesses. But a small business shouldn't stay small forever. So I start a business. You start your business. You're small. What are you doing to grow that business?
Well, let me first clarify what a small business really is defined in economic terms. Is a company that has 500 or less employees. So you think,
Substantial.
yeah. So I mean, I just recently passed the small business mark
Mm-hmm.
when I passed, the 500 employee. But most small businesses really are 20 to 30 employees or less, with an owner who is an operator. He or she is present and done in running that business, and that makes up about 85 to 89% of all businesses in the U.S.
Say that again. Small
So,
business owner, less than 20 or so employees.
Small businesses with 30 or less employees and a present owner that runs the day to day make up between 85 and 89% of all businesses in the
In the
U.S.
US. That's crazy.
That is significant.
Yes, it is.
Our economy moves on the small business, on the entrepreneur. Large companies, we hear about them all the time because they have the budgets to be in every social network and all over the news, but they don't make up the great majority of businesses in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
The small business does. So our economy depends on the small business being successful.
Yeah.
And so the idea is a small business has to have the greatest chance to succeed because it makes the most impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to do is listen, we probably that statistic is probably true in this church.
Yeah.
And so how many of those entrepreneurs, businesses that fit in that statistic are struggling?
Mm.
And they may be struggling for many, many reasons. It could be, lack of cash, lack of planning, lack of people, lack of really a vision, and they shouldn't have to do it. Because here's what I learned in the last 6 years of my life, that you can grow beyond your limited knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never thought I would be in this position with 5 or 6 years ago with what I knew 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I dreamed about it,
Mm-hmm.
but inside I knew I'm not the guy that get us there. I don't know enough.
So what did you have
here
to
I
do?
am.
Yeah. So did you start to learn? Did you connected with people that then taught you some things that then allows you to grow what you have?
Absolutely. Well, the first couple of years it was just grinding, working hard.
Yeah.
Just because I needed a paycheck and I needed to this thing needed to prove that it would work or it didn't. And so thankfully it did work, and I just had to work because that was it. I mean, I was this company in January 1st, 2019 was a one employee company,
Mm.
and that was me. And so, you talk to people today that know what I do and know of my company, you're like, man, that's a big company. Well, it wasn't a big company always. It was a one employee company
Yeah.
when it started. And it was like that for a few months until we got more and more and more. So what I did was that at some point, I knew that I couldn't work and continue to grow at the pace that I was working. I didn't know how to grow beyond that. So I started seeking help.
Yeah.
I started seeking advice from others who were bigger, who were, further ahead. And, they would give me good insight, but eventually led me down to meeting the business coach who's been with me now for a little bit over 2 years. And that has really completely changed my whole outlook on the business, but more than anything on me,
Yeah.
on my capabilities
Yeah.
of who I can be.
Yeah.
So I used to say, I have an exit plan from the company, and that's when I can reach this number because I know that's my limitation. Well, that milepost has been moved several times
Yeah.
since, and I don't think until really I get tired,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that milepost will ever stay
Yeah.
because I've now enjoyed. I've learned that I enjoy learning
Yeah. Yeah.
and growing.
Well, with my line of work, the church only grows to the level of its leader.
Mhm.
It's called the law of lid, John Maxwell's law of lid. You just can't rise above your skill set, which then means either if you're going to grow the church, grow your business, either the leader has to grow or the leader has to change. And I was never going to change what I'm doing. This is my deal. So
Mhm.
I've always appreciated the leadership principles that come with growing the person before growing the organization.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think when I look at just your life, I've known the person forever. What I've really learned to respect is how the person has grown in you to now. And it's evident because now you see it with the organization that you have grown. Now, along the way, as a small business owner, I've seen you tap into attorneys, for instance. Some small businesses that go into, they don't have an attorney. They don't have somebody that they can call to handle some legal matters. But that's hugely important because now you're talking about agreements, contracts, leases, could be business vehicles, it could
Mhm.
be space, it could be contracts, negotiation here, things like that, that you have to be willing as a business owner to say, all right, I've got to have on my cash flow here enough resources to tap into professional services that I need. If I'm not willing to do that, Roger, I shouldn't be running a business.
And that is so true. Look, I could be driving a brand new Porsche, or I could be paying for my accountant and my attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And by paying for my accountant and my attorney, I'm going to be able to buy two brand new Porsches.
Yeah.
And that is the business equation. A lot of it is fear. I can't afford it. I hardly make enough now. I started doing those things when I couldn't afford it
Yeah.
because I needed it.
Yeah.
In order to be able to afford better, I needed to invest. And it's not a cost, it's an investment. Had I not invested in the attorney, which actually taught me so much, the accountant. And now we've got two accounting firms
Mm-hmm.
because we have several businesses and some, overseas. And the amount of resources that it takes to run all of that. I need someone smart
Yeah.
that can keep me out of trouble with not only the IRS in this country, but the IRS in another country,
Yeah.
right? So if I save that money, number one is I would never grow in that sense. Number two
Mm-hmm.
is I could grow, but I could grow wrong and it could come back and get me in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was okay, if I'm going to invest in growing this business, I've got to get the best resources available.
Yeah.
I can't skim on the most important things.
Mm-hmm. That's where the mindset comes in from somebody that could be a good entrepreneur to being a real successful business owner. Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that have an idea and a concept they want to try to pitch, they want to try to build it and throw it out there. And it may be good, but if they're not thinking in terms of a business owner, which I want you to hit on just a second, if they're not thinking in terms of being a business owner, then they more or less do everything just themselves, and you limit your success when it's just about yourself. But one thing you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we were talking, and I think you're going to be sharing this concept at our business forum. The difference between being the business and owning the business, whereas the business, you're really an employee in your business. I hope I'm laying it out
Yeah,
right.
it's working in the business versus working on the business.
Okay.
And that has been for me the most satisfactory transition of the last couple of years is that I was so in the business that there was a lot of things that I was missing because I can only see in so many directions, and the business is 360, and I can only see in front of me.
Yeah.
So there's all this activity and all these things happening that are around me that I was missing, that was costing me money, costing me time, and it was creating a negative effect. So that's when I really started investing in bringing in the resources, the right
Mhm.
people. And believe me, it was hard sometimes to have to look at somebody and say, you want to make more than me?
Yeah.
And I had to do that several times.
Yeah.
Write an employee of the company a bigger check than what I was making.
Yeah.
But believe me, it was well worth it. It's been well worth it every single time, because that allowed me to step further away from the doing and start looking at the whole business and started seeing where the holes were. And as I was plugging in the holes, I was keeping resources in the house that allowed me to pay for those experts that I was bringing in.
Yeah.
And so now I have a bird's eye view of my business, and I can see not only what's going on in the business, but what's going on in the industry that I can move my business towards. Yeah. And the things that are coming out that makes my business better. So it's I'm no longer working as much in the business as I am working on my business.
Yeah. Big difference.
Yeah.
Well, the other thought, and we're going to hit this in the business forum, is when you look at your production that your business is bringing to you, and you treat everything that the business brings in like it's your own, as opposed to then setting yourself up in the business, pulling a paycheck off of it, but letting that business grow. And then down the road, you take, of course, profits from it. But being able to separate yourself from all the resources that come into the business so that you see that, wait a minute, you're not the business is the business.
And that is so tempting. It is so tempting for anyone that, especially if the business or their skill set or their services do well.
Yeah.
Because it's, all of a sudden now you've got this cash coming in, you're getting more money if you do well. And that's really where the most dangerous is. Not when you don't have, but when you start seeing it and you forget that you have to feed the beast. You have to give back, invest in the entity that provided that so that it is healthy, right? And so it's hard. For instance, one of the things that I did, and I'm so thankful that I thought this way when I started my now business. I was an executive at a large company, and I had to make a hard decision that I was going to cut my living expenses in half so that I can pay myself a menial salary, at least for the first 2 years of my business, so that my business would take everything that it ever made, take it back, and feed itself and grow. And it was hard. I mean, just think about anybody. Think about cutting your expenses in half. Right? How hard it is, because we live almost paycheck to paycheck. And I did that. And every dollar kept feeding the monster back in. And I remember the first year I took out, I think I said this story before. I took out high interest loans to make payrolls. And it was like, just almost getting it from here to pay it here and paying the interest. And that first year was a death race to the end. And I remember writing the last loan check on December 31st, paying off the last loan. And that year, my interest payments on all that money were well over 25%. Think about that. 25% of all the money that I went just right back to paying interest. But I knew that if I took any money out for any personal expenses, for any kind of living improvements, that business would not survive.
Well, we could go on and on. We've already been over 30 minutes talking in this little podcast booth right here, which is why we need that one-day MLC Business Forum. And we'll be getting more information out there for those that are entrepreneurs, those that want to start a business, those that are operating businesses at all levels. We want to be a resource to them because they're a great community of people. And this country and this city and our church community could really benefit as they are elevated and succeed. So that's another episode of our family business with the Alessis. It's been great to have Roger Quesada, Roger Q, in the house with us today. And if you have been encouraged by this episode and you know there's others that are out there that would be interested, share this with them, and then keep your ears and eyes open to the one-day MLC Business Forum that's coming your way.
Logistix.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and click on the notifications bell so you can be notified for all of our future videos. And if you loved today's topic, we have plenty more, and you can click on this link right here to watch all of our videos so you can learn why family is everybody's business.